Welcome, TIL, to our Pastor's Perspective podcast, where we talk to our pastor and leader on different topics and current events that's going on today. And today we have two special guests with us, and we will let them introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Coleman and a divorced mother of 4 children, grown children. And currently I am happily single.
Amen.
And I am Jewel Harrell, leader over our great SALT ministry here at TIL.
Singles.
Single Adults Living True. I am single and waiting.
Amen. It's good. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank y'all for joining us.
And we definitely wanted to continue this conversation, as Angelo has alluded to, and we wanted to invite these sisters to kind of give their perspective. I know the name of the show is Pastor's Perspective, but we're going to get the perspectives of these two beautiful sisters on their history, their past, and currently where they are, and what it is that God is going to do in their life. And I'm going to give it back to the host.
So, Ms. Coleman, you mentioned earlier that you were not sure if you were interested in taking that route again. What happened? What about your first marriage that has kind of gotten you on the fence of moving forward with that again?
Well, I recall, and I was thinking about this on the way here, I thought, you had that fairy tale type mentality that, once you got married. Well, first I thought I was getting old when I married my children's father. I was 26 years old, and I'm thinking, oh, you know what? Everybody was getting married around that time, and I'm like, I'm gonna be an old maid and 26, and so I kind of forced the hand, put the cart before the horse. I got pregnant first, and I was in the church. I had been in the church for about 8 years, but I remember thinking everybody was getting married and I wanted to be married, and so here come this Joe Blow came by and said the right things, and there I went, bam, and then I got married and tried to make it work. It was like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, and it just don't fit. But I stayed because I wanted the marriage to work, and so. When it didn't work, and now it's okay. I'm okay with it now because that part, I wouldn't have my children if it wasn't for the marriage. I wouldn't be the person that I am if it had not been for the things that I've gone through. And it wasn't so much. I don't look at it now and look at it as a bad experience. It was just a detour of life, and so.
Well, how long were you married?
I stayed with him till God released me, and it was 3 years. And when God released me, I remember when he released me because my pastor confirmed it, and he said, you got your answer. I said, yeah, because I was praying, God, save him or move him. If you're going to be here, we're going to do this, save him or move him. I wasn't going to leave the church, though. I didn't leave the church, and that's a hard thing because folks be looking at you involved in everything, and church back then was brutal. Right. If you came short. Right. If you came up short, they were brutal. And I alluded to that last week on the last week podcast where he said he was saved. He said all the right things, but you know. So, in order for me to have the peace that I have now, I had to remove myself, but I had to wait, and I had to stay there until the fullness of time came, until everything was fulfilled that needed to be fulfilled, and then when God released me, then it was okay to go.
Ms. Jewel, what was it about marriage that made you take that step to get married in the first place?
Well, for me, I grew up in my home with my mother and my father, who were married 5 years before I came along, and still married today at like 50 years now.
Wow.
So, of course, growing up in a home with both of my parents, that seed was planted. Like, I've always just been a family-oriented person. Like, you're supposed to grow up, get married, have kids, live happily ever after. Now, it's not to say that's how it was growing up, but that's the image that's set in my mind. So I actually, growing up, I dreamed about getting married all the time. Like, as a teenager, you know, it was like, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to get married, I'm going to fall in love, I'm going to get married, and I'm going to live happily ever after. Now, life did not deal me those cards,
Right.
but that was what I wanted. That was my desire. I've always loved the sanctity of marriage. So I would say it was that seed that was planted in me from when I was younger, growing up, seeing my mom and my dad together.
You said that, I'm gonna let Angelo pick it back up, but you said you had that idea, that thought, and I think one of the sessions I was in with you, we were doing the singles ministry. It seemed like I remember you saying that you know, the like the Ken doll, the Ken and Barbie and all that, and you just a little picture with and all that. What's your take on, you know, because I know I've spoken to, you know, you can have that expectation, you can have that idea that you're looking for, and I know I've said a couple times, I know it's a little one of them kind of statements like, what's your take on lowering your expectations as relates to when you get married? Not lowering your expectation with the person you're marrying. You know, you got to make sure you keep that top shelf. But when you come into the relationship, what was different? I guess my point is, what was different about your picture perfect marriage that you had in mind, and then reality?
Oh, wow. It was totally different. And like you said, I did grow up with that Barbie Ken mentality.
Mm-hmm.
I was a Barbie girl. I had everything Barbie, and I did grow up with that. I wanted the Barbie and Ken life. You know, the house, the car, the kids, the dog, the 2-car garage with the white picket fence on the hill. You know,
Right. The whole
I had
thing.
it all planned out. Like right. And so my first experience, because you know, and I'll just go ahead and say, my experience with marriage has been multiple times. Mm-hmm. That's not a badge I wear proudly, but life happens. But, you know, just hindsight, it was supposed to be just one.
Right, sure.
And so I think my initial approach to marriage, I really think, honestly, I did it the right way the first time.
Okay.
But we were young,
I got
you know, and other factors came into play where it was like, okay, then, you know, this one didn't work. I'll just try it again, you know, and then it got worse and worse and worse. So then, you know, now fast forward to the age I am now, looking back, it was like, you know, I probably shouldn't have made that left turn back at Albuquerque,
Right.
you know, you know,
It's a
you
dead
know,
end,
right,
dead end. No.
right. So I guess, you know, you do have this picture in your mind of what you want it to be, and plus now the world has changed so much now. I don't think that part of me has changed.
Mm-hmm.
I still love the sanctity of marriage. I still want to be married because that's just who I am. I'm just never been the person to just date and just explore. It's just not me. No offense to people that do, because you know, some people, that's their way of living. But for me, I wanted that initial seed that was planted in me. What I would do differently this time, though, even being in a place of I would do it again, but this time my focus is I want what God wants.
That's good.
You know, I'm not willing to sway to the left, to the right. It's like, okay, God, if this is not you, I don't want it. You know what I mean? Because, you know, the word tells us, lean not to our own understanding, you know, and all our ways acknowledge him. He'll direct our path. So I didn't always do that in the past. Like, sure. I didn't always, I leaned too much to my understanding. And yeah, that didn't work out so well. Right. So I would say this time is just, I'm in a content spot of, I desire to be married again if that's what God wants. And if that's not what he wants, then help me to be content where I am. And I'll just, you know, continue to serve on the SALT ministry, the singles ministry.
Singles,
yes.
Right. Right.
To you, Ms. Coleman, what are some of the things that you expected marriage to be about, and then when you entered marriage, it wasn't what you thought it would be?
Well, I thought if I love them, that they love me, then we can be a family.
Right.
You know,
that sounds like a song.
Right. You know, you thinking you know, they're thinking the same thing. I love you, you know, and women, for women, we go in, I know men do too, but for most, because I met men who have loved, they love, women love, they love with, you know, you the one, then you're the one.
Right.
You know, you are the one, and I won't give 100%, I'm going to give 150%.
Right.
I'm giving you my all. And then for you to turn around and give me your backside,
Right.
you know, you're like, okay, did I sign up for this?
Right.
And I didn't understand all of the, you know, and I came from a family where my sisters have been married 36 years. My baby sister, she's been married since she was 20, my brother-in-law was 19.
Wow.
They got 36 years of marriage. And then the other sister, you know, so and my parents was 61 to 62 years married. So I saw good examples.
Sure.
I saw good examples. I saw, you know, how it's supposed to be done. So I'm thinking, well, all I got to do is love them, and then they'll love me back, and then we're going to, you know, and it wasn't like that. And so when that wasn't the truth, then I was like, okay, how do I fix this now? How do I, you know, I didn't want to break the family up. I wanted to stay for the family, keep the family together. No matter what he did, keep the family together. You just want to keep the family. You want to keep, you know, when things were bad, he leave. When I got things all right again, he come back.
Right.
You know, so you were going back and forth, this back and forth type thing. And I was the one that nobody thought would ever have children, and I ended up with 4. So I was the one you know, I wanted to be married, but I just didn't know. I didn't see that. I didn't see all of that. And it's not because I didn't have examples. And well, first of all, I didn't hear God.
Right.
I mean, I heard God, but I didn't.
Right, sure.
I heard God.
Right.
I can't say, oh, well, I didn't know why nobody tell me that he wasn't the right one. Well, I knew he wasn't the right one because God said it, and I didn't listen. I felt like I was leaning to my own understanding, and then I ended up in a place that it messed with me so bad psychologically that it was either I was going to either cop a charge or
She said she's going to catch a case.
it was. I was either, because I was thinking about that. That's what was in my mind. Because this brother had to.
She was thinking that
Statute of
grits.
limitations.
She was boiling that grits.
Right, exactly.
So, you know, you're thinking you giving all, and then this what you get. And then I'm saying, wait a minute. And then the enemy started talking to me. He did. He started, well, get rid of him. I'm like, no.
Right.
No, that's been a long time ago. So it's all right. We all
Right, sure.
we good. So,
Check that back out.
okay, so anyway, we ended up, I had to make a decision when I started thinking thoughts like that, you know, either walk away or stay. Either I'm going to end up doing something because you don't know what you may do under pressure, remove yourself. And I had to remove myself from that so that I could raise my children. And I made the decision that I'd rather I'd be a single mom and raise them, and then they have to see all of that dysfunction going on.
Sure.
And that's that's the decision.
Yeah, that's good. And I think as Ms. Coleman kind of alluded to, you know, you can hear it's a kind of reoccurring theme as relates to as you leaning to your own understanding. I think a lot of times, and it's not just with marriage, it's with a lot of different areas of life, when we kind of get to a point to where we're hasty, kind of get to a point to where we want something before God is ready to release it to us, or we want somebody that God does not necessarily have for us. We kind of can get ourselves in a situation to where how in the world did I get here? How in the world did I get this situation, how to get this bad this quickly. So I think it's just more of an encouragement than anything. And God will take our life experiences and things that we've gone through and things that we've encountered, and he will allow what it is that we say and we go through, and let it be a warning to persons that's watching, and also be encouragement to somebody that's watching, to let you know, just slow down a little bit. And that's one thing I find myself telling engaged couples a lot. Just slow down, slow down. If that is the person for you, they're not going anywhere. If God told you, that's the key, as I've heard both of you say. Did God tell you that, or is that you telling you that? Is that if God telling you that, or is that your teddy bear telling you that? Is God telling you that, or is that the fact that you tired of being a third wheel and you don't want no more bridesmaid dresses and all this other kind of stuff? And so I think it's so important for you to hear the voice of God, of course, for him to be able to give you that release, that is the individual for you. But then at the same time, even at that, what is the rush? What's the rush? If this is the person that God has for me, that person is going to be there. This individual is not going anywhere. And so I need to just be able to slow down and allow things to kind of happen, and not make it happen. Because whenever it is that you get ahead of God, whenever it is that we get ahead of God, we always make things a lot worse than what they have to be.
And this is for either one of y'all to pick up. You said it, but I can see y'all kind of agreed on it. What else did you guys learn besides love that is going to take for a marriage to work?
Oh, it takes a lot of patience because the honeymoon wears off.
No.
And and after the the honeybees and the music that plays constantly in the background stops, and real life sets in. It's like, ooh, I gotta look at you every day.
Right.
After that phase, I think it takes patience. Now, if the love is strong and the love is there, of course, we know love conquers all, but it still takes work.
Right.
It takes work on both parts. Both spouses have to work, and it's a give and take. So I think one thing is being patient and being selfless, because you cannot be selfish in a marriage. It cannot be about you. But if your outlook is, my job is to care about what he wants and what he needs, and his job is to care about what I want and what I need, and if we're both doing our job, we're gonna both be happy.
Right.
And in the past, I didn't always have that. I guess the basic things we learned, like I said, I learned growing up with my mom and my dad. I learned how to, my dad went to work. My mom was the homemaker. She worked only if she wanted to, if she got bored, because other than that, she didn't have to.
Right.
And when he came home from work, I watched her go in the kitchen and cook that meal, and I watched her fix his plate when he come in, and he didn't eat off paper plates. We could eat off plastic plates, but he wasn't gonna do it.
Right.
So I picked up those things, and I still, even now today, like when I serve my dad does not, he's gonna have some china, he's gonna have a plate,
Right.
So those little things like that, I think those seeds were planted, and I learned, how to do that stuff. But then when you bring a whole nother human into the equation, and a whole nother human that they got the way they was raised, and they got what they were taught, and they got how they were brought up, and it doesn't necessarily all the time gel together, then that's when the navigating of the power of wills, and somebody has to yield, and
Right.
That's when the work comes in, and it doesn't always go like it's supposed to, but that's the blueprint I believe God has for us.
Sure.
What about you, Ms. Coleman?
I agree with what my sisters just said. I'm at what I've learned about being married and just relationships, period, is that you can't be selfish, and I've never been selfish in relationships. I always wanted to give. So now that when I said earlier that I wasn't sure if I wanted to be married again, because I'm selfish now.
Right. Yes, ma'am.
You know what? I'm selfish, and even with
You have to have a balance.
yeah, and there's, I have an expectation that one day I may, I have an expectation now where I didn't. If he said he loved me and I loved him, then, and not all of the other stuff that you need to know about somebody. You need to go find out about if there's cray-cray on their family,
Right.
what else is going
exactly.
on
Yes,
behind the
ma'am.
sීns.
Right.
You need to know so many other things now. It's not just about Google eyes and all of that
Right.
stuff. And so, when I look back, and I was like, all of the signs be there anyways. It's just, where's your expectation? Is he, we'll go to God and God will say, wait. Or show us,
Right.
and we'll still want to try to fit that square peg in that round hole.
Right.
And so what happens is we go in with this. Well, he's going to be everything that he's going to be everything that. And so now I'm like, wait a minute. You know what? I ask God this now. Is this your best for me? Because he may not be, he's the best for somebody, but he
Right.
may not be the best for me.
Right. That's
He's
good.
the best for somebody. So
Right.
I don't want to mess him up. So for the best one that's coming for him.
Right,
Because
sure.
she may not be your best.
Right.
And he may not be my best. And when
Right.
I was on the train and I asked God, I said, God, I met a gentleman. I said, God, is this your best for me? He said, no. And I heard it just like that.
Wow.
I ain't calling no more.
Right.
No more
right.
nothing.
Right. Let him go. He's still on the
Yeah,
train
he's
right now,
still
looking for you.
cut it off.
Yeah.
And even when you fast and pray, I fasted and prayed, God, what is you saying about this man? And
Right.
the Lord said, walk away and don't look back.
Right.
And I said, okay, just like that.
Wow.
And so now I'm learning to ask the questions.
Right.
Ask the hard questions. Why, find out what, do they have any alcoholics in their families or
Right,
anybody dabbling in stuff that, because so it's so many other things that I ask now where I
good.
didn't ask.
That's
I
good.
just took it at face value that they were true because I was true.
Right.
So now I'm learning to ask questions, ask the right questions, and when I'm asked, well, what are you saying? I'll wait till So that's where I'm at now. I don't know because I'm selfish. I think. I told my children that. I say, I'm selfish. I like my space.
Right.
I like my time. I ain't got to cook for nobody. I don't cook unless I want to,
Right.
And those things you can't be selfish about. You can't
Right.
be selfish about taking care of that person who's supposed to be with you,
Right.
And all the times that I did do that and it wasn't appreciated, now I'm like, hey, he gonna have to cook.
Right. No, that's right. Right. Sure. That's good. And I love that. That's so powerful. And I think a lot of times when we talk about relationships, I think a lot of times persons kind of take it personal. And I love the way that you said it. And I'm still in that right now. I'm giving you credit now, and I'm never going to give you credit again. But I love that where is this God's best for me? And so it's not so much, as I say, people kind of take things a little personal. It's not so much that this person is a bad person. It's not that they're not going to make somebody a wonderful wife one day. They're going to make somebody a wonderful husband one day. But is this who God has for me? And I think a lot of times we just got to be honest with ourselves. And as you said, just kind of asking the right questions. And so I think that's really good. So it's not a knock to anybody saying, you're not the one for me. You're the one for somebody. If God got it in the cards for you, so to speak, for you to be married, you're going to be top shelf, top notch for somebody, but not necessarily just for me. So I got to ask those right questions, being honest with myself, saying, am I doing this? Is it what God wants for me? Or am I just trying to push this thing along?
I want to ask you something about what they were saying. What role, and we kind of spoke to this on the previous podcast, when you find out that there's crazy people or crazy, they have family members that might have some kind of past, but that's going to come with everybody, right? So how much weight do you put on that when you meet somebody who mama crazy, daddy crazy, or whatever is in their background?
Right. I think you need to be prayerful about it, and depends on it. And again, I think there's some non-negotiables that comes up. I mean, of course, everybody got Uncle Willie, and everybody got a Big Mama, and everybody got those types of things. But I would really closely pay attention to their family interactions. The way they're interacting with their family, the way they're interacting with their parents, the way they interact with their siblings, and of course, if there is some residue in places. Just say, for instance, if someone in the family is an alcoholic, and you know, now this may be a topic of conversation, very gingerly. God, give me wisdom on how to navigate with this. Hey, sweetheart, have you ever? I know I never seen you drink before, but have you ever struggled? You know, with is that your thing? You're not a drinker, and just kind of ask those questions. I believe, as both of them said, God kind of show you, that was you. God kind of show you some things, and I think we kind of now need to be a little private investigator and start asking some pointed questions. You know, maybe their parents, maybe you know, Papa is a Rolling Stone. And know you trying to figure out, well, how many relationships have you been in? I mean, asking some real pointed questions around that area. There's some, as you said, there's some baggage that comes along with anybody that you've been in a relationship. We're not going to be able to find a perfect person, a perfect family. You're not going to be able to find that. But at the same time, I do think there's some things that really should raise the red flag and really should cause us to be really cautious and prayerful. And then when I see those things, because this could be a potential problem a little bit later, I'm going to start asking some questions around.
So with what you just said, Pastor, when you do, because we've talked about that in Salt Ministry as well, singles,
right?
that we are supposed to talk about and discuss one another's past,
right?
So that things don't come up later. But when you do that and you discuss each other's past, and you do find out, like you said, it's some Uncle Willies that's cray-cray, or they